And you would never expect Shota to have 8-4 with the 4-bet. Never in a million years. So
at least for like the higher
sneaky.
stuff, like everyone kind of knows.
How often do you find yourself after a poker session trying to figure out why you made a decision or decisions in a hand or multiple hands where it makes zero sense to you logically or poker wise how you came to that decision, and then how you ended up losing piles of money? How often do you find yourself in that situation trying to figure out, are you even a poker player? Are you ever going to be good at it? Are you ever going to be consistent? And how do you get to that point?
My hand is too good to fold, I think.
When you sign the petitions to stop
Oh no, David, find the fold.
everyone's like, oh, they're never going to gamble.
Channel the universe.
This was closer to the end of the stream.
Yeah, I think we had maybe a half hour left, or maybe less. So what we see in this, or what was happening within, I was kind of on autopilot. I was coasting. I was up. I was checked out. We have a process that we use during our hands to constantly check in, to ask, like, what thoughts am I experiencing? What feelings am I experiencing? And when I don't check in, it leads me to play a hand like this. So what I wasn't acknowledging in the moment is this: the stream is almost over. I'm up a bunch of money, basically winner's tilt. I'm going to lock up a win. And the way that I lock up a win is, let's play safe and comfortable and make plays without risking the chips that are in front of me. Because if I lose what's in front of me, if I'm this close to the end and I blow through this money and end up a loser, what's going to come up? I'm a loser. Why did I do that? How could I be so stupid? I'll have to live in the discomfort of the voice in my head that beats up on me when I make mistakes. So without acknowledgement that that's the voice in the moment that is making my decisions, it's going to, as you'll see, drive me to play the hand in a certain way. So the deep thought is, I want to play it safe and I want to play it comfortable. I want to win pots, but I want to win them easy.
So then in the hand, you 3-bet Shota when you connected to him through the process that we have, and you saw that he didn't have a hand that basically made it very comfortable for you to raise there. And especially then you also had a hand which happened to be pocket eights. So then it doubles down in terms of feeling attachment to this pot. 1, I have a hand, and 2, I know he doesn't have a hand. And then 3, I want to play it safe. But then what happened instead is he 4-bet you.
Yeah, so what was happening within was there was 2 competing energies. The one, I want to play it safe because the stream's almost over and I'm a winner right now. And the other, which is getting triggered by, okay, I have a thick value hand. So what I saw when connecting to him pre-flop using our process is, okay, he doesn't have a hand. Like he's weak. So he doesn't have a hand that he's wanting to fight for the pot with. So already right then I create an expectation or an attachment in my mind that says, okay, this is going to be an easy pot, or this is basically an easy 3-bet. And I have the expectation that it's going to be an easy 3-bet, and because he doesn't have a hand, this is going to be an easy pot, or I'm going to win it safe.
Which is the goal, right? That's the unconscious goal that's not acknowledged. That the thought that's driving is, I want to play a safe hand.
Yeah.
So right now, if I 3-bet here, this is safe. It's totally in my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And then when he 4-bets.
So when he 4-bets, so the comfort zone is I want to play it safe, and I'm not expecting him to 4-bet. And then when he 4-bets, immediately I get emotionally triggered. So the 2 thoughts start competing with each other. Because the pot is now getting bigger and outside my expectation, now breath rate goes up, heart rate goes up, I'm emotionally triggered. And the 2 competing thoughts are, I want to win this pot, but I need to play it safe. This would be a place where you want to kind of look in the mirror and ask yourself, or when you're sitting at the table or in your next session, just ask, where am I feeling these 2 things? Like when you're going for a pot, when you're 3-betting or being aggressive, notice the tendency to, okay, I want to fight for this pot. Notice the thought and the feeling. And then when you're playing it safe, when you're on winner's tilt or something, like check in and notice that thought of, I want to play it safe. This is what we're talking about.
It's the saying is, what you resist persists. It's true. So if you're resisting the thought of, I want to win this pot no matter what, and at the same time want to play it safe, then you're going to combine both, which is you're going to start fighting for the pot, but at the same time playing safe and in the way that prevents you from winning the pot. So unacknowledged thoughts and fears are now basically running the programming. At this point, you're still using some of the process of being able to connect, but because the unacknowledged thought of I want to play it safe, and at the same time I'm feeling attached to the pot because now it's a big pot and I want to win it, is being ignored. Those two are driving forces in opposite directions, are basically taking over your playing and taking over your decision making. It's like it's not so slowly taking over. It's only a matter of time because it's not acknowledged. It's going to take over, and then those thought that idea is going to drive the decisions and not process or not being connected or whatever we use normally to make the decisions.
Yeah, it's like there's like a fire, and there's 2 cans of gasoline, and 1 can of gasoline is the I want to play it safe, and the other can of gasoline is the I want to fight for this pot. And without acknowledging there's 2 things of gasoline being poured on the fire, then the fire is going to keep growing.
Yeah.
So you got to go take the gasoline out.
And we're going to give you guys an example of what it looks like, not just in terms of the hand, but in terms of the process, what we do when we actually are connected to the process and following what we're supposed to be doing in the hand, and how different it is on a mental and emotional level, not just in terms of decision making and table.
So as far as the hand goes, the flop comes ace high, and based on my connection to him, I saw that he didn't have an ace. So this is why I was continuing with my hand after the flop. So I actually had clarity in the moment to tell me that he, on the flop, did not have an ace and that I had the best hand.
He didn't have an ace, but also did not really have a hand. So you saw that basically the way he was pre-flop in terms of connection and energy-wise, he was the same on the flop. So the same way we saw him, or the same way you saw him, which is he really doesn't have anything, was on the flop.
Yeah, he didn't improve.
He didn't have nothing. He didn't have anything pre-flop, and he still doesn't have anything on the flop.
Yeah. So if this was a player that is a capable aggressor and he's going to be barreling turn river, that would make even more reasoning to just flat on the flop. But because I knew that this player wasn't going to be barreling turn river, that makes us lean a little bit more towards we could check raise or we could check call. In the moment, I thought about check raising, but because I wasn't acknowledging the thought of I want to play it safe, that thought actually prevented me from check raising, because I was like, I don't want to check raise here, and he calls, and I don't know what to do, and I don't want to be wrong and lose more money.
Ultimately, for us and the way we apply the process, it's a definite check raise, because when we know he doesn't have shit here, and we also know that this is the kind of player, or we feel comfortable that he doesn't have a hand here, but we also know this is the kind of player that's not barreling off, then by check raising, we basically deny his equity. So we're eliminating opportunity to get thrown out on, and we just collect the money right there, because the chance of him continuing barreling are very little to none. So we're pretty much giving him free equity to see two
cards.
To see
he's
2
gonna
cards.
check back. Yeah, he's going to check back.
So why are we doing that?
Yeah.
Right. There's no reason to not take it down right there.
So we get to the turn, and he spikes a gutter. And so at this point, so we have a specific process that we use that connects us to players in the moment, to train our conscious mind to make the right decisions and to see through the clutter of all this stuff we're talking about. Play it safe versus fight for the pot, or whatever thoughts might be coming up in the moment. So because my thoughts went unacknowledged, now the pot is huge, heart rate's up, breathing's up, everything is way too intense. And I in the moment, couldn't settle down on the turn.
Yeah, and the board was 5, 6, 7. So you had a good logical excuse in your mind where if he doesn't have anything on the flop, which is he doesn't have an ace, so the only hand that could really beat you on a turn is basically spiking a set, or a straight, which is 8-9 or 8-4.
Yeah, straight didn't even cross my mind.
Yeah, because you have pocket 8s, so then it's like, oh, of course, why would he have that? And he doesn't have anything on the flop.
Yeah, because in the moment on the turn, I actually felt in my body. So there's a difference between the thoughts and the feelings. I intuited, and you guys all have this because you played poker over thousands, millions, or whatever hands. You have intuition that tells you what's the right decision in the moment. So in the moment on the turn, something didn't feel right to me. And the thought kept saying, well, but dude, what if he has king, queen? What if he has something else? You had the best hand pre, like how could he
And on the
possibly have
flop.
the best, and on the flop. So how could he possibly have the best hand now? So the thoughts are saying you still have the best hand, but what they're doing is they're explaining the justification for me being attached to the pot, to my hand, right? So if I fold there, the thought, there's going to be another unacknowledged thought in the back, like all the doubt of, well, what if I'm wrong? What happened there? How could I fold there? And this, I folded a hand to this
why am I
player,
folding on a turn
when I
after
turned it
calling the
open-ended.
flop? Yeah, like how does this card help him if I think he doesn't have anything in the flop?
So what's that going to make me do after that hand? What would be the emotional fallout in terms of poker strategy?
Yeah, it would be, well, I can't trust myself. I am not a good poker player. Like who calls pre-flop on the flop and then folds his turn if I think he doesn't have a hand flop and turn. I'm in the flop and pre-flop. So there's a lot of stuff attached to it that has nothing to do with the hand. Unacknowledged thoughts, unacknowledged emotions leads us to being stuck in the idea of what happened before, which is I know he didn't have anything pre-flop and on the flop, and idea of the future. If I fold here, I'm going to be stuck in a whirlwind of thoughts of I probably got bluffed off. I'm stupid, like I lost maximum in the hand where I probably would have won if I called down. So then when we're stuck in the past or what happened, what could have been different in the future of what is going to be if I make this decision, how I'm going to feel, that what we're missing is the present moment, actual connection to the player and making a decision right now in this moment that's based on nothing more or nothing less, but on what's happening.
And so after the hand, without acknowledgement of any of that, it would either put me into one of two spaces. Trying to win the money back by super cold tilt, calling very wide, but playing passively. So no aggression, calling wide to smash and basically bleeding money. Or two, picking another spot to fight with and probably bluffing or punting into a better hand.
Because both of those thoughts would still not be acknowledged, right? The thought of, I want to play it safe and I want to win money. I want to walk away a winner. So because neither one of those thoughts got acknowledged or get acknowledged, all that energy is piling on top of it, all the emotion, and after losing the spot, that emotion will go into overdrive because and it's still not acknowledged. So now those emotions combined with the thoughts are the ones playing for you, which is what's in poker. It's called tilt, and we usually hear tilt, and it's like, well, tilt is something that happens to you. You just can't do anything about it. Reality, it couldn't be more further from the truth, and we're living embodiment of it. You are like we work on it all the time, and the hand afterwards showed it.
After the river, so after I call, and this goes back to 100% responsibility. There's no, like, the thought didn't even come in my mind, like, this is a cooler or I'm upset at myself or anything like that. I just kind of neutrally observed what happened, observed the hand, and then look in the mirror. It's like, okay, how did I play the hand or how was I showing up that had the hand play out this way?
Yes. Here's where we get to acknowledge, and that's coming from 100% accountability, which is important. You got to experience that after you acknowledge that you were feeling anger, frustration, irritation, all the emotions of I fucked up, I misplayed a hand, I lost a big pot, I made a big mistake, and I feel like shit about it. It doesn't feel good at all. You didn't try to hide it or disguise it or try to suppress it and say, no, I don't care about this. This doesn't feel like anything. You acknowledged immediately in the moment that it felt shitty. It felt really not cool. And all the thoughts coming to the surface, they were like, why would you do that? What's wrong with you? Instead of fighting them, you were actually for the first time acknowledging them, which is what you didn't do in the hand.
This is gold. It's gold. And this is something that we've implemented really just this year. And it's had an actual profound impact is when stuff comes up, like actually sitting with it and acknowledging it and having a conversation with it. So after the hand, right, I'm like angry, frustrated, upset, and dealing with. So in my head, I'm actually going like, all right, David, what are you upset about? Well, the stream is almost over, and we just punted off a bunch of money, and this guy was never going to barrel us, and we're better than this. We know that we can fold this turn, and like, I should have fired that pre-flop. So it goes to like all the things I should have done. It goes to how I'm stupid, how I'm an idiot, I'm not a good poker player. Like, what are other people going to think of me? Which is projection of my own judgment thoughts. But so it takes me to that space, and then I go, oh, okay, well, did you play your best in the hand? Like, all right, I hear that you're angry. And I hear that you misplayed a hand and you're upset about it. Like, it's cool. Like, we misplay hands sometimes, and that's part of poker. And Okay, what did you learn from it? I might ask myself. Okay, well, I learned that I was, I didn't 5-bet pre, so I was playing it safe, and but I wanted to win a pot, and I didn't have any clarity of like what my intention was in the hand, what my purpose was in the hand. I didn't know what his purpose was, so I was in a total unconscious space. Okay, well, what do you need right now? Okay, well, let's start with a deep breath. So let me take a deep breath and let it go. Let's get the energy flowing through. And then I'm also hearing thoughts of, well, we got to get it back. We got to get that money back. We got to, like, there's only 20 minutes left on stream. Like, let's do something. Let's get it back. Let's go, go, go. So then I'm hearing those and I'm acknowledging, and then I say to myself, okay, like, I hear that you want to get it back. I hear it's important to look good on stream. Like, we may get the money back and we may not. And I get to live with that outcome. And just doing that in the moment created freedom, like actual emotional freedom, poker freedom. It made me feel grounded in the present moment, comfortable in my body. It made me present. Simply just by acknowledging, like, okay, I don't have any control over like what's going to happen in the next 20 minutes. I don't have any control over the past. I can't change it. And so let me focus on what I can control, which is how I feel right now, acknowledging whatever's coming up, and being present for whatever hands happen going forward.
And notice how often that comes up for you when you misplay a hand or when you have a bad session. How often that turns into something way more than poker in your own mind. That it feels like it's a reflection on you as a person. Oh, you're still this way as a player. You're still not good enough. You're still never going to learn to be great. You're still never going to learn how to be even good or consistent. Like, this is who you are. And notice how often that conversation, unacknowledged, what it ends up leading to going forward in terms of poker and in terms of life, of how you feel about yourself. Because ultimately, and this is what we realize through our work, is that poker is just a reflection of life, just a mirror of who you are. And poker brings it to the surface way faster than any other line of work that you could do. Because you can't run away in poker. You're just going to be confronted with how you feel about yourself and how you act or interact with those thoughts and feelings within.
Which is why poker has likely the highest failure rate of any profession.
Yeah.
And the key to succeeding in poker is the one thing that people are not doing, which is looking within and taking responsibility.
Think for yourself, how many of you got into poker to avoid responsibility, to avoid having a 9 to 5, to avoid, I don't want to think about or feel about things or have a consistent anything in life. I want to just be able to travel, play poker, have fun, not have a boss, and just kind of have like a life of where there is no responsibility. There is no going within. It's just having fun.
Yeah, ultimately what a lot of us were looking for when we came into poker was freedom. But then when we don't acknowledge all this stuff, we don't take responsibility, what do we actually create is the opposite of freedom.
Yeah.
We create like, I don't have enough. I don't play enough hands. I got to grind more. we get stuck in the grind, and we get stuck in like things aren't working out. And ultimately we create our own emotional prison cell.
Yeah, and notice how many of you call it being burnt out. Like, think about how you or friends you know became burnt out by poker or eventually left poker. And they might have been good players and they might even have results, and it doesn't matter. Because poker, like Dave said, without acknowledgement of what's going on within, it will make you feel like you're in prison in your own head. Because the prison was always there if you did not choose to acknowledge what is going on and what's happening and what is it trying to say.
Well, it will make you feel.
Yeah, it'll make you
it's
feel.
actually just, it's bringing up stuff that was already there.
Yeah.
So it will make you feel is the not taking responsibility version. The responsibility version is, I feel this way. I'm feeling this way through poker. This was already within me, and poker is showing it to me. And so that's how we create true freedom, is by saying and acknowledging and having conversations like we did in this hand with whatever's coming up. So now what we're going to see is the outflow or the result of what happens when we take responsibility and we check in within, we acknowledge the feelings, we acknowledge the thoughts, we acknowledge whatever's coming up, and we can see the ginormous difference in poker strategy. So we go from this hand pocket eights where We play it safe. We call down. Guy turns the nuts, and then we call down even though we know we're not good because we wanted to play it safe, but we were attached to this next hand. We get pocket deuces. I open. We get 3-bet by Dylan DeStefano. He's capable barreler, capable 3-4 better, and he does it with. He's just. I know him as a person who's going to take any spot that is available. So he 3-bets in the small blind, and because I'd acknowledged all that stuff and what happened in the previous hand, what happened was I did what I didn't want to have happen, which was make a huge mistake and lose a bunch of money. So now that I let go of like, all right, well, it doesn't matter. If I lose money, if I make a mistake, it doesn't matter. So now I'm in a place pre-flop where I'm clear about what Dylan's purpose is in this hand, which is to be aggressive, to win the pot through aggressive, or smash a hand and get paid. So now I have clarity of what my strategy is in the hand.
Yeah, and you felt connection to him that he did not have a hand, the made hand. He had just a hand that he was 3-betting with.
Yeah, so I'm not always calling with deuces there based on, like, I'm not calling there to hit a set. I'm calling there because my connection to Dylan told me that he didn't have a strong hand, and I likely had the best hand, even though, whatever hand he has is going to have decent equity versus me. I'm in position and I'm comfortable with all options, which is if I don't have the best hand on the flop and he's attached to the pot, I can fold. Or if he's weak, doesn't have a hand in barreling, I'm comfortable taking him off the pot. So Dylan barrels flop.
3-3-4.
Turn, 3-3-4 flop. I saw on the flop that he didn't improve. He didn't improve greatly. Like I didn't see, and by connecting to him, I didn't connect to anything that told me like that his energy changed from pre-flop to flop. Now on the flop, we could raise, we could call. As we spoke about earlier, Dylan's a player who's aggressive. Like he's going to be barreling the turn 90% of the time. There's a ton of cards he could barrel. So for me, I get more dead money out of flatting the flop, even though I risk that he might draw out on me. And the important thing is that I trust myself to see on the turn and connect with him and know whether or not he, based on our process, has a better hand on the turn, and whether he's folding, whether he likes his hand and he's calling and going with it, or whether he doesn't like his hand and he's folding. So we get to the turn, which is a 9, and he barrels 4,000 and connect to him. And
well, so in that moment, right, you connect and you still see that basically the way it was pre-flop on the flop stayed about the same. So you feel comfortable in the moment knowing that, okay, I have the best hand.
yes.
However, because the pot is now big and the energy of the hand from pre-flop, aggressive action, flop and turn, the energy is now growing and the thoughts are coming with it. Right? And what's the difference now than what you did on the turn and the other hand?
Yeah. So I'm experiencing a lot of the same stuff that I did in the pocket eights hand, but because I have clarity now on the turn after he barrels, and it comes to this is the edge of the comfort zone. The edge of the comfort zone is like, okay, I have to jam here. I don't have to, but jamming is the right play. So I come to the point where I'm like, I have to jam, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to be wrong. Do I trust myself to jam? What if I'm wrong? What if I don't actually see what I think I'm seeing, and I jam and I'm wrong and I lose more money and I look like an idiot on stream, and then I literally go home and have to see on the thing like poker with a purpose minus 20,000, and so all that stuff is coming up. But the difference is that I acknowledged it, that I actually hear like, okay, I hear you, Dave. I hear that like this might not work out, that maybe sometimes we make a mistake and we don't see what we're actually seeing. And yeah, what am I resisting right now is jamming and him showing me a better hand. That's like the one thing that I didn't want to have happen. If I ask myself in the moment, am I more resisting going all in and being shown a better hand, or am I more resisting folding and beating up on myself? And the more resistance was to like putting my stack at risk and trusting myself. So that's how I know I know that that's the one outside my comfort zone. I know that folding would be in my comfort zone because I'm not as resistant to it. But making the play and risking my stack and really trusting myself, that's the question. And that's, I basically ask myself, okay, if I trust myself here and I go all in and I'm wrong, like, can I live with myself? And the answer is yes.
And notice how often you guys are in a hand and you know intuitively, you just know it. The right decision is this. And then you feel this internal resistance coming up where it's like, I don't want to do it because this might be one outside of normal poker logic or what other people would do here or what's considered the right play or standard play. Or I don't want to make this decision and lose a bunch more money where I could just cut my losses or take the safe choice and just live to fight another hand. And notice how many times you've done that, and almost every time you were dead wrong. And afterwards you're like, I knew the right decision. I knew it, but there was a thought that stopped me. And notice that resistance. And ultimately, that's what holds you back from taking the next step. It's not acknowledging what's coming up, it's ignoring what's coming up and trying to logic your way around by playing through your fear and having the fear drive the bus or having the anger drive the bus to drive your decision making and then logically explaining afterwards. So what we learned through our process, and it's been a lot of work, a lot of trial and error, is when we choose to acknowledge and step into what's coming up. And there's a lot more to it, but we're giving you the overall basics on it. It actually leads to the right decision every time.